Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. So we are going to continue with Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 5. We had covered last time up to verse number 13, so we will start with verse number 14 today. Tato anyatha kinchana yad vivakshataha prithak dvishastat krita rupa namabihi nakarhichit kwapi cha dushtita matir labhe tavatah tanauravaspadam. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Whatever you desire to describe that is separate in vision from the Lord simply reacts with different forms, names, and results to agitate the mind as the wind agitates a boat which has no resting place. Om Agyanatimirandasya Gyananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. First of all, a very happy Gaur Purnima to all of you. I know it's been a long time. Good to see those nice familiar faces. And this chapter is Narada's instructions to Srila Vyasadeva, because Vyasadeva was dissatisfied. Even though he had, written the Vedas, still he was not happy. And Narada Muni, being his spiritual master, a bona fide spiritual teacher, he knew the cause of Vyasadeva's disappointment. And that is why he appeared to guide his disciple. That's the duty of the bona fide spiritual master, is to guide the disciple. And it's the duty of a bona fide disciple is to follow the instructions. The spiritual master, if he is bona fide, will point out, all the faults or shortcomings of the disciple and guide and show the way that, okay, this is what you need to do. These are the do's and these are the don'ts. So similarly, Narada Muni, he pointed out to Vyasadeva that you have not focused on devotional service. You see, it's the devotional service to Krishna that is very pleasing, and that is what you have not really glorified sufficiently, which means Vyasadeva had not glorified Krishna sufficiently. This is what Narada Muni is saying. And that is the reason Vyasadeva was feeling despondent, even though he had knowledge. Now, who is Vyasadeva? He is none other than incarnation of Krishna, full of knowledge, but still to set an example to show us that even an incarnation of the Lord accepts bona fide spiritual master and takes guidance. Just like when Krishna came 5,000 years ago, he accepted Sandipani Muni, even though Krishna knows it all. He doesn't need any knowledge. He doesn't need anything from anybody. But to set an example, he accepted a guru. When he came 540 years ago, and today is that day when he appeared as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he accepted Ishvara Puri to set an example. So this is what Narad Muni was doing. He's a bona fide spiritual teacher and he's guiding his disciple. And before, giving him don'ts, first he's telling him the good things. First he tells him, he praises Vyasadeva and he says that you've done a wonderful work. Great job. You see? So we see here there's a conversation between two exalted devotees, Narad Muni and Srila Vyasadeva. And what are they talking about? They're not talking about politics. They're not talking about the president. They're not talking about stock market. No, they are talking about spirituality, spiritual knowledge. So Narad Muni is telling Vyasadeva that your vision is perfect. You see, you are spotless in character. You're very famous. You are firm in your vows. You are honest. You're truthful, and so he is letting Vyasadeva know that you have all these wonderful transcendental qualities. So all now you need to do is think about Krishna's pastimes. And of course, when Vyasadeva will think about Krishna's pastimes, he would go in trance. He's a pure devotee, he's an incarnation. So the reason Narad Muni wants Vyasadeva to explain the transcendental pastimes of Krishna is so that people like us can get the benefit out of it. And not only that, we can liberate ourselves. We can come to that transcendental platform about the three modes of material nature. And today's verse that we read, Narad Muni is telling Vyasadeva to describe about the Supreme Lord. He says, anything else that you describe is going to agitate the mind. And he gives the example of how the wind agitates the boat, which has no resting place. If the boat has no resting place, then those waves, right? Because of the wind, the boat is going to get agitated, which means the boat, if it doesn't have a resting place, that means it's floating without any direction. And that's what most people do. They lead a life without any direction. By that, I mean spiritual direction. Just living for material needs and material family, etc. It's necessary, but we need to also add spirituality to our material life, spiritualize our material life. And so just like a boat needs, it should not be allowed to float around without any direction. Similarly, we should not float around in this world without any direction. So Vyasadeva, we have heard, he wrote the Vedas, he wrote the Puranas, he has a lot of knowledge. He wrote about fruitive activities, he wrote about speculative knowledge, mystic power, worship of demigods, everything he wrote. So Narad Muni is trying to tell Vyasadeva, this is very puzzling for people in general, so much knowledge, but there is not much knowledge about devotional service to Krishna. So how can someone fix their mind on the Supreme Lord if there's not sufficient knowledge? If my mother tells me that I want you to get married to this man, the first question that will come to my mind is, who is he? What is his name? How about his family? Where does he live? Where does he work? Etc. etc. Until and unless that knowledge is there, how is it possible to build a relationship with the spouse? So similarly, if there's not sufficient knowledge about the Supreme Lord, how can we, ordinary living entities, build a relationship with him? We need to be focused. And that is what Narad Muni wants Vyasadeva to do, is focus on the devotional service of Krishna. Otherwise, there's going to be disturbance. And it'll be very difficult for someone to become self-realized. So Narad Muni is actually stressing on this defect in Vyasadev's writings, that everything that you write should be in relationship to Krishna, to the Supreme Lord. Why? Everything comes from him. We read in the Bhagavad Gita, right? Aham sarvasya prabhu matah sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante ma buddha bhavasmanvitaha. Krishna says, everything emanates from me. We also come from Krishna. We are his parts. He's the cause of all causes. So until and unless we satisfy the cause of all causes, which is Krishna, how will we be satisfied? Srila Prabhupada gives two examples. One is when we want to nourish the whole tree, we water the roots. Then automatically the whole tree gets nourished. And when we put food in the stomach, then the whole body gets nourished. It's simple logic. If supposing the hand says, oh, I'm taking so much trouble, I'm mixing the food and putting it in the mouth, I'm doing all the efforts, I don't want to do that. I want to feed myself. And the hand starts keeping the food and trying to, pretending to be eating. Is the body going to get nourished? No. So the hand needs to understand that the food needs to go inside the mouth. So it goes in the stomach, gets digested, and then the hand will get the energy also. The whole body will get nourished. That is our situation. We are trying to satisfy our senses, and we are still not satisfied. We've been trying, birth after birth after birth, or in our case, year after year after year, and still we are not fully satisfied. That's because we are not satisfying Krishna. So the focus is very, very important. So Vyasadeva is being informed or guided by Narada Muni that, you have, yes, compiled the Vedas, and he even tells him you shouldn't have compiled the Puranas. Instead, just Srimad Bhagavatam. Because he says even slight deviation can cause havoc in someone's life who's trying to be self-realized. So we need to be very, very careful, especially on the spiritual path. Srila Prabhupada calls it like razor's edge, right? If I'm sure the men know that if they are not careful while shaving, they can cut themselves, right? They have to be very, very careful because the blade is not going to say, oh, this is a nice devotee, I'm now going to cut this devotee, no. The blade is going to do its job. We have to be careful that we are not getting cut by Maya. That is our job. And how? If we are focused. So focus is very important. Then there's going to be no havoc in spiritual life, and there's going to be success. And Vyasadeva, he actually wrote about demigod worship also. So Narad Muni is saying this can create confusion. And that is why we see so many different religious sects, someone worshipping this and that, there's not enough knowledge. But if we take on knowledge from Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, we will understand who is the Supreme Lord. Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadir Adir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam Ete Chamsa Kalapamsa Krishna Stu Bhagavan Swayam. So the scriptures tell us who is God. Demigods are not gods. Demigods, they are not gods. They are demigods. They are under the Supreme Lord. And in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna himself declares, Bhoktaram Yagna Tapasam Sarva Lokam Maheshwara. He is not Ishvara, he is Maha Ishvara. He is the God of all the demigods also. So just like the boat is disturbed by the wind, similarly, the mind also gets disturbed if it has no direction. And then in that situation, one is unable to become self-realized. See, it's not possible. So mind needs to be controlled. And who can control the mind? Intelligence. So intelligence should be sharpened with the sword of knowledge. Sharpen it. And that is what we do. We have these classes, thanks to Mr. Zoom, even though we are so far away, we can still do Krishna Katha. Imagine how much pious credit Mr. Zoom is going to get, whoever created it, right? So many devotees all over the world are able to use this facility just to spread Krishna Katha. So how to control the mind? $1 million question. Simple. Hare Nam, Hare Nam, Hare Nam. Eva Kevalam. There's no other way except chanting, chanting, chanting. No other way. So if we chant the holy names, the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, with attention. Not chant because I have to chant. Chant because I want to chant. And hear those sound vibrations. And then gradually the mind will get purified and will come under control. In Kali Yuga, there is no other way. No other way in Kali Yuga. You see? That's the only way. And that's what today's Gaur Purnima and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave this instruction to us, that chanting is the only way. There is no other way. See? Now, Narad Muni is indirectly telling Vyasadeva about his defects. Not his defects, but the defects in his writings. See, until and unless the spiritual master informs the disciple about what needs to be done and what needs to be avoided, how is the disciple going to understand? Or how is the disciple going to progress? See? Unfortunately, people in Kali Yuga, they like to enjoy. How many of us can say, oh, I don't like enjoyment, I don't like to enjoy? Nobody will say that. Everyone wants to enjoy, want to see something nice, hear something nice, taste something nice. In fact, taste anything and everything. I remember hearing this, someone, my cousin used to eat anything and everything. And then my uncle will call him garbage, a trash can, because anything and everything goes inside. That's what we do, in the trash can. We just throw anything, everything that. So we don't want our body to be like a trash can. So people like to enjoy. And so Narad Muni is telling Vyasadeva that you're encouraging them to do that. How? By teaching them demigod worship. Because demigods, they get pleased very easily. We worship demigods, we ask them something, and they give it to us. But that's temporary, because we are asking for material benefits. Get me a good husband, or get me a good wife, or let my children pass the exam, or get me a good job, or give me US citizenship, or whatever it may be. These are all material desires. So performing fruitive works for results to enjoy, that causes bondage, which means entanglement. And people will do that in the name of religion. They say, oh, it's there in the Vedas. Vedas are clearly saying you can worship demigods, right? But we should not just pick up one part of the scripture and take it as it is. For instance, Bhagavad Gita, Krishna took us through all the chapters 1 through 18, giving us knowledge of karma yoga, jnana yoga, dhyana yoga, ashtanga yoga, bhakti yoga, everything. And towards the end, he's telling Arjuna, I have explained to you everything, now do what you like. So then I say, aha, here's a loophole. I'm going to take this verse only. Krishna says, do as you like. So I'm going to do as I like, without seeing what is the reference. What is Krishna trying to say? So here, people may start, and they already have, worshipping demigods, and they will say it's religion. So when Vedas are talking about demigod worship, it's okay, but one has to understand what are the consequences. They will follow Vyasadev's instructions from the Vedas without understanding everything in totality. For instance, Vedas give permission for cow killing, but they don't understand how to perform that activity. There is a reason behind it. In olden days, in Vedic days, When the cows were killed in the sacrifice, fire sacrifice, those brahmanas were so powerful that they could um, help the cow to take on a human form in that sacrifice. Can we do that? So people say, oh, cow killing is there in the Vedas, so I can eat meat. No. Even there are restrictions. Okay, if someone wants to eat meat, there is a particular day in the whole month, and there is a particular way to kill the cow, and there's a particular there are different rules and regulations that one needs to follow. Not that one goes to Kroger or Publix and buys some meat and eat it. No, that's not how it works. So here, Narad Muni is explaining to Vyasadeva that yes, you have mentioned all this, but how are people going to take it? And what happened? At that time, people started following Vedas without any discrimination. And so, Krishna had to come down as Lord Buddha and take people away from Vedas. Tell them, don't follow Vedas, useless, don't do anything. He taught them Buddhism. The idea was to wean them away from the Vedas so that they stop killing cows, so that they stop eating meat. That was the reason. And then, of course, later on, Krishna came as, he didn't come, he sent Lord Shiva as Shankaracharya to gradually bring them back to the Vedas again. So every incarnation, there is a reason why the Lord comes. You see? So when Buddha came, he wanted to stop animal killing. Now, Narad Muni, he could foresee this problem, how people are going to misuse the teachings of Vedas. And that is why he told Vyasadeva about the defect. They will start, sacrificing animals in front of demigod or demigoddess. Also, they will start following the Vedas thinking that they are the controllers. How many of us like to control others? In fact, like to control everybody. We want everyone to do the things that we want them to do. We want them to sit like we want. They want them to eat like we want. We want them to say things that we want them to say. We want them to behave the way we. It doesn't work like that. We've tried and tried and tried to be the Lord of all I survey, the controller. It doesn't work. So, unfortunately, most human beings, they try to lord it over. They don't want to take up the responsibility of this human form of life, which is actually meant for self-realization. It is meant to come out of this cycle of birth and death, come out of Maya. And Vedas are there to help us, reach our goal. To stop coming back again and again into this material world and go back to the spiritual world. Break the cycle of 8.4 million species of life, you see? And only human beings have the capability to understand Krishna consciousness, to understand that I am suffering. And I want to end the suffering. I want to be happy all the time. So now that we have this philosophical intelligence, we should inquire and, also use our intelligence to see how can I come out of this chakkar that is going on and on perpetually, and then come to that stage of, transcendental platform with the help of a guru. It's not possible to do it ourselves. If we try to progress spiritually on our own, our mind can trick us. Our mind can say, oh, you are such a fantastic devotee. Look at the way you chant. Look at the way you are reading books and see how intelligent you are. You are able to understand Bhagavad Gita just like mind can trick us. So got to be very, very careful. And when the mind starts tricking us, the spiritual master will catch us and say, stop. Most people are misguided in this material world. What are the Kalir Dosha Nidhe Rajan? Right? This Kali Yuga is an ocean of faults. So many faults. We are misguided, we are unlucky, we are short lived, we are less intelligent, we are, quarrelsome. So many disqualifications are there. But Mahaguna, there is one good thing about Kali Yuga is that we can cross over this ocean of material world just by Harinam, just by chanting. So, Vyasadeva, we know, he, of course, wrote the Mahabharata, which included the Bhagavad Gita. Transcendental subject matters are in there. And what does Bhagavad Gita teach us? Sarva Dharman Parityaga, give up all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. But unfortunately, most people, they are interested in other subject matters. Devotional service is not in their agenda. They want to talk about politics and, stock market, or, whatever is going on in the office or with whatever it may be, all material subject matters. So Narad Muni wants Vyasadeva to talk about Krishna. See, all this is prelude to Srimad Bhagavatam coming, into existence. Narad Muni wants Vyasadeva to write Srimad Bhagavatam. What is Srimad Bhagavatam? It's nothing but pastimes of Krishna and his pure devotees. So when Vyasadeva will start explaining about Krishna, explaining about the relationship of us living entities with the Supreme Lord, try to explain to us what is our position. Who are we? Are we the servants of the Lord, or are we the Lord ourselves, right? And of course, when Srimad Bhagavatam will explain how to surrender to the Lord, then the human beings, it's not talking about other species of life, because other species don't have the intelligence to understand. So then the human beings will be able to understand, aha, this is what human life is meant for. Not eat, sleep, and be merry, but to become self-realized. So Narad Muni, being a perfect, bona fide spiritual master, is explaining to Vyasadeva that Krishna is unlimited. And of course, when description of Krishna will be given, then one also, so just like the spiritual master is qualified, the disciple also needs to be qualified. It's not easy to understand Krishna just like that. If one is materially attached, then it's very difficult to understand Krishna, because the consciousness is very much materially inclined. Always thinking about what should I buy, where should I go, what should I eat. That all is good. But what about when should I chant? How much should I chant? When should I read Bhagavad Gita? All those questions also should be the focus. You see? Prabhupada says that if one has even a tinge, what is a tinge? Just a little bit, teeny weeny, just a tinge of material desire, one is not qualified to go back to Godhead. Even a tinge. So Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, they teach us how we can purify our consciousness, purify our mind and heart, purify the intelligence, so that we can, very sincerely and seriously progress on the spiritual path. Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschid yatiti siddhaye. Out of thousands, only one will try for perfection. And Krishna says, out of those who have attained perfection, hardly one knows me in truth. So for us to really understand Krishna, we need the mercy of Guru and Krishna himself. And when are they going to be merciful? When they see that we are actually serious about spiritual life. You see, those who are very materially attached, they don't have a taste to hear about Krishna. No. But if they come in association of devotees, like-minded people, those who are interested in Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, then with that association, gradually they will be attracted to Krishna also. So Narad Muni, he wants Vyasadeva to describe this spiritual science. If you remember, chapter 4 of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna tells Arjuna that I gave this spiritual science. He doesn't say I gave this religion to sun god Vivaswan. No, spiritual science. So Narad Muni wants Vyasadeva to give this spiritual science, to describe it. And Srimad Bhagavatam is the spiritual science. Bhagavad Gita is the spiritual science. It contains the pastimes of Krishna. So there's no difference between Krishna and his pastimes. So hearing about Krishna is like associating with Krishna. So hearing can help us purify our hearts. That's why Srila Prabhupada, used to, he has given us this, what you call a process by which we can become self-realized. And one of those processes is to read Bhagavad Gita every day. You see, this reading Bhagavad Gita every day is associating with Krishna, associating with Srila Prabhupada, and that will help us in purification. So further down, Narad Muni tells Vyasadeva that while performing devotional service, one may fall down. How many of us fall down while practicing devotional service? We all do, right? Mind is chanchala. It keeps going here, there, everywhere. And then sometimes we are very enthusiastic. Sometimes it's like, oh no, I have to chant again today. That is the mental state. So Narad Muni is saying, while doing devotional service, one may fall down. This can happen due to immaturity. But there is no danger of being unsuccessful. Why? Because as soon as we start performing devotional service, we come under the protection of Krishna. And Krishna does not forget even a little devotional service that we do. You see, we are in this material world, we have a material body, we have material relations, we have family, we have duty towards parents and children and spouse and friends, society, whatever it may be. So if we just focus on doing those duties, there's not much gain. Anything material, Krishna says, is temporary. Even this body is temporary, but devotional service is spiritual. We carry forward with us the spiritual bank balance. Material bank balance stays here. That is enjoyed by our family after we are gone. But spiritual bank balance we take with us. So you see, devotional service spiritual, and surrendering unto Krishna means following his instructions will bring about success. And it is only the spiritual bank balance that can help us at the time of death. Our American Express card is not going to work. The moment we leave the body, we have to cut that MX card and put it in trash. Not we are dead, we can't, but the family. It's of no use. Cannot take it. I cannot go in the next body and say, oh, you know what? I had studied so hard and got a PhD, and I had $2 million in my account, and I had this beautiful car. I want them all back. No. You have to start from scratch again. Provided we get a human form in the next life, there's no guarantee. You see? So now that we have got this opportunity, you all are very fortunate that you've come in contact with Prerna, and she's arranging all these classes for y'all so that you all can achieve self-realization. You see? Once we start on this path of devotional service, and Prabhupada says if we give it up later on, there is no loss. This is not considered fall down. We will continue in our next life from where we left off. Say in this lifetime, I am, doing bhakti only 50%. In my next life, I'll start from 51%. There's no loss. You heard the story of Bharat Maharaj, right? The great king. He got attached to a deer. And at the time of death, he was thinking about the deer. And in the next life, he got the body of a deer. That's what Krishna confirms. Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajatante kalevaram. So whatever we think at the time of death, to that state we will attain without fail. So because he was thinking of a deer, he got the body of a deer. But because he had done so much bhakti, he had the remembrance of his previous life. You see? And that is why he was very, very careful in the body of a deer that he does not get deviated. So he went near the ashram of sadhus so he could hear Krishna Katha. We may not get that opportunity, right? Because we may not have performed the bhakti that Bharat Maharaj did. So even if there is a little slack, Krishna says, no problem, we will continue. But right now that we have the opportunity, we should continue with determination. Even a small amount of devotional service, Bhagavad Gita says, can save us from the most terrible danger, grave danger. You see? So what does it mean? Surrender, surrender, surrender. That is what Srimad Bhagavatam is teaching us. And Narada Muni is explaining to Vyasadeva that you please write Srimad Bhagavatam, glories of Krishna and his devotees, so that people like us in Kali Yuga can benefit from these pastimes, learn from these pastimes, purify ourselves, and become self-realized. So the way to do it is to surrender to Krishna, which means follow his instructions. So surrender, surrender, surrender means chant, chant, chant. There is no other way. So I'm going to stop here. I think I covered from verses 14 through 17. And now we will continue the remaining maybe next time. So I'll stop here. If anyone has any questions or comments.